It's always a pleasure to have my next guest on the show. David Burke is back, and he's got a big fight this time, September the 2nd. NEF 54 for the vacant welterweight strap against Devin Corson. David, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited for this fight, man. A lot of respect for both you and Devin. And, it's going to be a tough fight. Both of you guys bring it. You guys, come to fight, very well rounded skill sets. When you first heard his name, what was your initial thoughts?
Take it. Let's do it. I watched him fight in Bangor. I was up there when he fought Curtis, and I don't. I kind of in my head had already known I was going to be going down to 70 eventually. So he definitely was someone who I actually I pictured fighting in the future. Not knowing it was going to be my next fight, but to be honest, he's one of the only people who are down to fight me. Like I've been trying really hard to get fights, and I've offered to step in on short notice, a couple times, but then I've had a couple things almost squared away, but then stuff fell through on my end. So just having someone, able to say yes and give me a full camp like that alone is like really nice. So all respect to him, and he's a good guy. We shared some words at the Bangor event. We've talked a little bit since then, but once we get in there, like I have a job to do and I'm there to do it. And afterwards we can be buddies. But when I'm in there, like I'm trying to do this for real. So it'll be good to see, what kind of intensity he brings. I'm excited for it.
So you said you shared some words in Bangor. Were they positive words? They weren't like you weren't beefing with them.
No, definitely positive, but I feel like I don't know. Whenever you share words, right? Like at these fight events or something, it's like fighters, they support each other, but at the same time, like when you might fight someone in the future, it's like, all right, it's sharing words and being positive, but at the same time, it's kind of like, letting someone know like you're there, I'm here, you're here. Like we I think maybe we both knew that this would happen, right? Like it's kind of, he's a smart guy. Like I think that yeah, so sharing words is it's a definitely a positive thing, but we all know what we're here to do. Like we're here to fight. So it's like you can be as nice as you want to each other, but at the end of the day, like that's the end result is we're gonna fight, and then after that we'll be friends, right? Like so yeah, it's and he looked great that night. So there was nothing bad you could say. He came out strong and beat a tough guy, so it was good.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. I mean, he's 4-1. He's got a couple signature wins. Obviously, what you just said over Curtis most recently, but he also had a UD win over Jacob Detmeyer, who's another guy that's a very tough fighter here regionally. When you just look at his skill set, obviously he's a wrestler, but you're a wrestler too. Like, where do you feel like this fight is going to take place? Is this going to be a grind fest on the mat? Or are you guys going to be stuffing takedowns and striking?
I mean, I'm game for whatever. I'm gonna go in there and fight, and that could entail a lot of wrestling. That could entail a lot of stand up. It's wherever the fight goes. It's not. You can kind of like prepare mentally for like situations, but at the end of the day, it's hard to really dictate everything about a fight. I think that his style, it's obvious that he's more of a he's more of a wrestling base. He wants to get that takedown, wants to be on top. And it seems like he's even willing to waste energy at times just to have that kind of dominant wrestling slam position and stuff like that. So I think that his past wins too, or his past matches, whether they're win or loss, was I think a lot of those were at 55.
Mm.
I was like last year at this, or not too long ago, I was almost 230 pounds. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna be a lot stronger than the people he's used to. I'm gonna hit a lot harder. Yeah, I'm gonna be a lot harder to take down. It's just not, I'm not the same thing as like even um Jacob or whoever Curtis. It's just I'm a different athlete. I'm a different fighter. Um, you know, I'm in my prime here, and it's just gonna feel a lot different for him to try to control someone like me in those positions. It's not going to be as easy as it has in the past. Um, and I'm not saying he can't get a takedown on me or whatever. He can't set up a nice shot, but this is a 5 round fight as well. So um, we'll see how his style of fighting translates into a 5 round fight, and if he can bring that same type of pace and pressure into the late rounds if it goes there. Um, and I know I can do that. Like I've been training a long time, getting ready for my next fight. Basically right away since my last one. So I'm ready to go. I'm in good shape. I'm ready for a war here, and I hope he brings it.
If he does
Um,
get a takedown, do you think he can keep you down?
Anything's possible, but do I think he's gonna take me down? No. Do I think he's gonna hold me down? Definitely not. I think it'd be easier to get me down than hold me there. You know what I mean? And dude, like my jujitsu isn't, I'm not a high ranking belt or anything, but it's like, dude, I'm rolling with black belts, brown belts, and everything in between or down below, all the way to white belt. But typically, like I'm trying to get rolls in with those high level guys. And my style has almost kind of changed to like instead of just that, you come in from a wrestling base and it's like you don't want to be on your back at all, and you don't want to have that bottom position. And it's not that I'm more okay with accepting bad positions now, but I definitely have a lot more tools to work through those positions if I do end up on my back or in a position that a wrestler may deem as like a bad spot. So
Gotcha.
I'm pretty confident, man. I feel really good. Um, and I just like I feel different this time around. Like I've had a short career, but it's like I feel like I'm starting to understand how this game works a little better. Um, and it's just I think a lot that alleviates a lot of the nerves. Like I'm just excited to get in there and do this. I can't wait.
I can't wait for it either. I got to ask you one other follow-up question here, just about him
Yeah.
specifically and his wrestling. You said, anything can happen in a fight. What he's known for is kind of like those signature over the head slams where he's slamming his opponent on the mat. If for some reason that happens, how pissed will you be?
I'll get it back. I'll get it back for sure if that happens. But yeah, I mean, I guess, and even I guess, inside I'd be pissed, right? But in the heat of the moment, it's like you don't have time to be pissed in there. Like, especially with someone powerful like that who's trying to throw you around. It's like if you're worried, if you're not thinking about defending yourself for a second in there, you're just gonna get launched again, right? So it's like, I definitely won't be happy about it. But who wants to get tossed on their head, right? That's
Right.
never a good time. But I plan on being the one doing the tossing and throwing around. Like I don't know, it's just not in my nature. You know what I mean? I don't. I typically would rather be the hammer than the nail. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's my plan.
we've seen that in your previous fights. There's no doubt about it. Let's talk about the layoff. It's been 10 months since we saw you last. Obviously, there's a little bit of an
Man, that seems
injury.
long.
It does, man. It's been quite a while since we've seen you inside the NEF cage. What was the injury like? The rehab. Tell me a little bit about your recovery to get back here.
So I've had a lot of things, man. I've had just a lot of things going on. I didn't the way I lost my last fight, right? You need to take some time and like before you're doing contact and let your head recover a bit. Um, and like since then, like I've had like just nothing serious. Some things that I thought were gonna be more serious, like I was having some knee issues and just sort of like, just bumps and bruises, but it's just not letting me able to train the way that I want to. And it's like I'm at the point where like no one like I'm not gonna get an easy fight, you know what I mean? Like not that there is such thing as an easy fight in my opinion, but I think that any person that I'm fighting from this point on is like I need to know that I'm in good enough shape and healthy enough to be able to train hard and like do everything I need to do. I can't like have to like cut corners in training because I'm hurt just to make it to a fight, right? Like that's not where I want to be. It's There's not money on the line at this point. There's nothing motivating me to to really like hurt myself worse potentially. So I really just been trying to like get used to training in a way where I can stay healthy enough to feel confident that I'm doing what I need to do in the practice room to be effective in the fight. So, but it's also like I don't like sharing too many details
Sure.
on injuries, but like, people, anyone who does this and say their knees don't hurt sometimes, or you don't get a sore back or a neck or your shoulders, wrist, whatever, like, anything. There's so much wear and tear on your body that even someone who didn't wrestle their whole life and skateboard before that and hiking and ride dirt bikes, whatever, just like I've never been easy on my body. So now you jump into something like this, and um you just have to be mindful of stuff like that. So basically I just wasn't confident um with the way I was feeling just to get in there again, so I just needed some time, and that's all it was.
And you're feeling 100% as good as you can right now?
I feel amazing, man, like mentally, just where I'm at in life, just like I have like normal stressors in my life, right? But nothing that isn't affecting me positively. And it's everything that's going on in my life is motivating. And I just really like the people I'm surrounded by, and this lifestyle is awesome. Like I got to, I get to go corner people and, help fighters get ready for fights. It's just something I've always dreamed of doing. Like this whole just what I'm doing now, like getting interviewed about a fight that I'm about to do in a cage. Like it's just sometimes I don't think I fully appreciated everything at first because it happened so fast, and then just kind of have that time to sit back and like just really like think about what was really happening around me. It's amazing, man.
It's good to hear, man. Happy for you. Let's talk about the last fight that you did have. It was the only loss that you've suffered right now in your career. How difficult was that to process it and get through?
Um, you know, it not like I'm a competitor, man. I hate losing. Like I've always been like that my whole life. Like, and it sucks to lose. Um, I knew it was a tough fight. It was a big risk, right? Like if I did lose, I figured it was going to be that way. Just him finishing the fight, because I didn't think I was going to get out wrestled, or I didn't think it was going to go 5 rounds. So, um, I guess, but I guess the hardest part for that was just, I didn't. I took a couple shots after the initial one that got me, and it's like I don't know. I just think that how I felt initially right after that fight was just not it wasn't it was just a lot of like doubt, a lot of questioning. Like you're like, man, is this worth it? Am I cut out for this? Like, because everything feels good, and then all of a sudden you're back to square one in your head for a second, right? Because you're like, fuck, I just lost. Like, because I was convinced, I was fully confident I was going to win that fight, right? So then next thing you know, you're waking up and you didn't, and it's a lot. But I think having Devin there, in Carolyn, that was really, uh, it helped a lot, So, um, yeah, and just that whole process, it's like you go into this cage and it's like you want to fucking have your party planned afterwards, and you want to do this and that. And it's like sometimes it's not the way it works, right?
Mm.
And even if you win, sometimes you got to go and make sure you're all right. But I think that it was a good reminder of the reality of the sport. Is It's a dangerous sport, and it's not something to be taken lightly at all. And you can't go into that cage not prepared for something bad to happen, because I think that would have been worse if I wasn't prepared for something bad potentially. I think it would have hit me a lot harder, but I know the risk, so um I think that helped a little bit. But
Well,
I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it does, and I appreciate listening to you talk about it because you can tell just listening to your voice that it means so much to you. What would it mean to you, David, to win this belt, to win this NEF welterweight title and bring it back to Nostos?
the title aspect is awesome. Like that part of it is really cool, but it's more for me, it's more like it's more like me against me, right? Like I got to go out there and get this win. And yeah, just like I think that a lot of people get wrapped up with like the belts and championship status and all that, but like ultimately, like this is for the experience for me. And I'm really looking to like I feel like last fight I didn't get to show what I'm capable of, right? And it's like I feel like this is kind of like a redemption for me. Like I get to come out and like kind of just put that behind me for good, because it's still I don't think that's really gonna be past me until I kind of move on from it in this way as
Mm,
getting a win and kind of feeling like myself.
sure.
So
That makes
um
sense.
yeah. But the belt, obviously that's cool, but like am I gonna go around flaunting it too much? Probably not. I might take a picture with it, cool, hang it up on the wall, but it brings greater satisfaction to me to have those belts on the wall at Nostos and have like other people come in and see that and like just like not see that I want a belt, but just see that like this is what's going on in the gym and like you guys can do this too. And like you just have to like this system that's put in place by every all the coaches works, right? And it's like people are having success with it. So it really looks good on the gym, I'd say, just as just as good as it looks for me to win the belt. And that means a lot to me too, because without Nostos like this, I wouldn't be doing this at all. So um, yeah, that's important to me.
So what has this transition down to 170 been like for you? Has it been easier than you thought it would be? Explain how that whole process has been to get your weight down.
It's been good. It can be frustrating, right? When you're cutting calories a bit, and training hard. It's just I feel that I kind of have like a shorter fuse at times, right? Because I'm a little hungry. Like I'm a bitch when I'm hungry, dude. I just get pissed off. Like I don't know. I'm pretty thick skinned, but once I'm fucking hungry, it's like ugh. So I just
You get
it's
hangry.
good though. Like yeah, bad. Like but at the same time, it kind of I feel like if I'm not cutting weight to a sense, like I'm kind of like trying to miss a step of this process, like like all the top level guys, like you're cutting a fair amount of weight, like, and it's part of the process. And you know, whether people agree or disagree that I should be putting myself through that because I had wins at 85, it's like, I don't really care what people think. And, it's my choice. And it's like, I know that I can do it. And being realistic, it's like, regionally at 85, like I can hang with anyone. But, you look at someone like Joe Holmes, right? Like he's an 85er at like a higher level. And, he's been in the UFC and like he came and I tried to, I tried to do some stuff on him. And it's just like, you're like, man, like this is a big dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And arguably like he's not on like the huge end of an 85er, I would say. There can be a lot bigger 85ers. Maybe not, in ways. He's pretty tall, but just I think if I'm being realistic with myself, and saying I want to make it to the next level and do this and that, then part of that journey is going to be getting down to 170 and kind of making the most out of what I have, in terms of my frame and my build. And I just don't think I can make the most of that at 85.
What's your
Um,
weight at right now?
right now I'm well that I just trained, so I'm no more than 17 to 19 over right now. So,
Okay.
and yeah, and I had a light training session this morning, but in the past month I've hit or probably the past 6 weeks I've hit, I within 6 pounds of 170. So just testing the waters a bit. So I'm pretty much right where I want to be, come fight week, it'll be 10, 15 pound cut, nothing major. And, the difference is where I sit now when I'm not training 2 to 3 times a day, and, restricting calories versus where I sit when I'm kind of training more leisurely and eating how much I want based off how I feel is two different things. So like before my last fight in Philly, like I showed up after Thanksgiving at like just a couple pounds under 200 pounds, and I cut that in the last week to make 175. And it was just, I just didn't do it the right way.
Mm,
So like my body's in a lot better spot to be geared towards going down right now for that cut than I was. My body wasn't ready for that week of cutting weight last time around. And it
gotcha.
just, I just definitely did some damage to myself in that sense.
Well, hopefully
But
this
yeah,
this well, weight cut when you get closer to the fight, it goes a little smoother for you, man. I wanted to ask you
yeah.
about someone else too, and I try my best not to like scroll on social media too much. I don't have Facebook anymore. I spend most of my time on Instagram, but I remember seeing something about a little back and forth between you and Nate White. Is that accurate?
Um, yeah, at one point, yeah, there was a little interaction between us.
Is that a fight that could happen? Is there some beef there?
It's a fight that would happen, but he won't take it. He doesn't want to fight anyone with a winning record. He doesn't want to fight anyone who's legit. And it's like, for him to go around and like talk bad about me or call me a pussy or call Brody McDougal, talk shit about guys that are like realistically, will take your fucking head off, dude. And it's like he knows that. And he's trying to play this character of like this Covington, this kind of like bad guy just for the online thing, and it's like it is what it is. But until he fights someone legit, it's like everyone knows what he's doing, right? Like it's not a mystery. He, he's cherry picking fights, and I don't think he trains hard. And physically looking at him, that kind of backs up that thought. And it's just, if he wants to fucking do it, we can do it anytime, like any weight. Like yeah, I think that he's one of those people that you talk to him and he's more likable in person than he is online or when he's on a microphone or getting interviewed. Um, but yeah, without sounding like too much of a hater, I think that I'd love that fight, but I'm also not a bully, so it's not something I'm gonna pursue more than I have. So
Okay.
balls in his court for sure. Even talking about him right now, I know people at my gym are like, "What the fuck?" But I don't know. He Let's put it this way: Nate knows I'd fight him any day of the week,
Okay.
and he knows that the reason that fight's not happening is because of him, not me.
I
So
had to ask. I had to do my job and
yeah,
at least
for
ask
sure.
about
No,
it.
for
So, yeah, I appreciate you talking about it a little bit, my man. Let's transition back to again NEF 54. It's going to be in Portland, Maine. This is a unique card because not only will there be a lot of MMA fights on here, but there's also going to be boxing as well. Have you ever been to any of the shows in the past when NEF did that?
no, I haven't.
Are you
So are
excited?
they?
Like, do you feel like this could kind of add a little spice to it?
I mean, I don't know. Like, so what are they doing? They're boxing a whole card in before the MMA event.
So what they
Is
did last time is there were like 3 or 4 boxing matches that were the precursor to the MMA fight. So they start with the boxing and then they transition to MMA. I'm not sure how that's going to be this time, but we'll see.
That's cool. That's honestly, I'd like to do some. I'd like to do a boxing match in the NEF cage or something in the future. That'd be awesome. I think that's cool. Yeah, I don't see how there's a bad part of that as long as it doesn't mean that we're going to be out back for like double the amount of time waiting. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
that's the only initially that's the only thought that crossed my mind is like if we all had to be there for like rules meeting or something at the same time and then it's like we have to wait for a card and then a card, it's like
Mhm.
that could make for a long night, but if they plan it out right and do it right, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Who's boxing though? Do you know any or they haven't announced it yet, so I
Yeah.
won't.
They haven't announced anything yet, which actually leads me to my next question because obviously they haven't announced many of the MMA fights yet. But I just wanted to get a kind of a gauge from you as to how many Nostos fighters we can expect to see on this card. Will there be a handful?
Let me see here. Let me think for 1 second. I'm trying to picture the whiteboard with all the names. I'm gonna say a little spoiler, I'd say as of right now, at least 4, including
Very cool.
myself.
Very cool.
So,
That's exciting. How
um,
much more excited does that make you when you have more of your teammates on a card that you're competing on?
it's awesome, man. I love cutting weight with the guys. You know, I just that whole like kind of like brotherhood, like I love that. I kind of feed off that, and yeah, I look forward to that part, like the whole fight week scenario, and yeah, and just you feed off that energy out back too, and it's just like you kind of you. I feel like you go into fight camp with your teammate, you go through the whole fight process with them, fight week, weigh-ins, and then the actual event, and it's like you come out of that with a different type of bond, I'd say, just because you both went through the same type of feelings, that if you've never done it, you would just kind of can only imagine what some of that feels like.
Sure.
Um, just dealing with those nerves and stuff. And I find it really interesting too, just like being in that atmosphere and just picking up on like, you can learn a lot about people just seeing how they handle pressure and what their response is to pressure and all that type of stuff. And it's interesting to see. And even, being out back to warm teammates up, you kind of can scout out you're close with a lot of teammates from or opponents that you'll potentially be fighting in the future. And it's just you can get a good read on people out there in that environment. Yeah, you could tell who's really about it, who's kind of nervous, who
Yeah.
everyone's nervous, but it's just an interesting aspect of everything that I like to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's circle back to Devin Corson, shall we? Again, he's
Mhm.
4-1. This fight is for the vacant welterweight title. His lone loss was by RNC. When you envision this fight, when we're getting to fight night, and you kind of give me your way early prediction as how you see this fight going, lay that out for me. What do you think we're going to see here come September the 2nd?
I think we're gonna see a friggin' good fist fight. I think this kid is gonna come forward. I think he's gonna. I do think he's gonna be trying to take me down a lot. This could potentially be a lot of wall work, a lot of groundwork. My plan, like I love throwing hands, man. That's what I want to do. Of course, if we wants to start wrestling, whatever, we can wrestle, do whatever. But I think that regardless of anything, this is going to be a high paced fight, and I would. I don't. If I can help it, it's not going to go 5 rounds. I'd like to I'd like to get some time in there, but I've also, I'd like to just get the win and get it done. So I'm gonna let that come to me. Whatever, shows itself, I'm gonna take it. And yeah, I really have tried not to do too much thinking about, definite scenarios in the fight because I feel like that didn't help me my last time around.
Mm.
And even as far as game planning, like I said, I think it's more of just like preparing myself for situations and things that I've seen, in footage and just working towards my strengths rather than being too worried about what he's going to do because I think I have the tools to kind of negate any of his tactics. So at that point it's just me making sure I stick to what I know and what I've been working on, just do what I do. Don't overthink it and just get into that flow state. Just let my hands go and see what happens. So
Oh, we've clearly seen in your previous fights, David, that you got a lot of power. Do you think at some point you're going to clip him and stun him and maybe finish him?
yeah, I mean, I think there's a high chance of that for sure. I think especially with how he comes straight forward a lot. You know, I don't even as far as like when he sets up his shots with some strikes, it seems like he's just very he comes straight ahead, and I don't think he has too much of um he doesn't have too many options from the feet as far as what he's going to be throwing at me. I think a lot of his striking is more geared towards getting in on the legs. And then when he's at range, he likes to throw those kicks and whatnot. So I think that, stuffing shots, there's a good chance to clip someone in the breaks, um, wall work when you break from those scenarios, there's good opportunities. So Yeah, a lot of that, and, you know, I'd love to just meet in the middle and throw down, but I don't think that'd be smart for him or me, but I don't think that he's looking to do that, and I don't think that's part of his game plan regardless, so, but you never know, sometimes the crowd, you hear the crowd going, you start getting hit or hitting someone, and you kinda lose track. So maybe who knows where this fight's gonna go. I think he's a tough kid though. Like I'm not underestimating him at all. Like I think it's a lot of respect for him, like I said, for even taking this fight. A lot of people in this game are everyone wants to be a fighter, but people wanna they don't wanna take hard fights and they wanna fight for the picture and then post the picture online and look cool. And it's like, dude, it's not you I'm so sick of that, dude, and it's like, honestly, like, I like NEF a lot, but there's some other promotions, like, I like Cage Titans a lot too, and I like even the Art of War promotion I fought at, but I think that promotions as a whole gotta do better with, like, these mismatch fights on purpose just to build guys up. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't know. Like I think my easiest fight was my second fight against a 0-0 guy who was supposedly a good wrestler. But any other fight, like when I fought Jadaf or on paper, I'm the underdog here. I'm fighting a guy who's been fighting for years and years, right? And he has more cage time than me, more experience, but I think these promotions that you see guys beating guys that everyone knows that guy has a losing record, kind of like a Nate White scenario. Like he's beating guys and like that he's not walking the walk, but he's talking the talk, right? And then posting the pictures and still continuing to like talk shit and do all this and that when it's like in reality, you're not challenging yourself in the first place. So that's why I respect Devin and myself. Like that's what I mean. Like I'm not a bully. Like I wouldn't fight someone who had a losing record or isn't good, at this stage in the game. Like I'm only looking for that tough fight. And yeah, so
Oh, I love it, man. I can't wait for this fight again, September 2nd. Devin Corson is the opponent, NEF 54, 170 title on the line. David, as always, man, I appreciate your time. Great talking to you. Looking forward to seeing you come fight night. Before we do sign off here today, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
man, yeah, obviously, the usual, the Nostos crew, Devin, Carolyn, my girlfriend Neve, my family, just everyone, all my sponsors. I can't think off the top of my head right now, but just anyone who's helped me during this fight camp and just, this whole process. It's just the support is it's amazing, and even from other fighters outside of Nostos that reach out to me, it's really encouraging when to have that positivity, you know what I mean? And I like to think that I extend that out when I can as well, to people involved in this because it's something that same situation with me and Devin even Corson. Like we're about to fight, and I'm gonna try to hurt him. He's gonna try to hurt me, but at the end of the day, like we're gonna leave this cage, and it's like we're both you know fans of each other. We're not disliking each other, or it's nothing too personal, afterwards, but when we're in there it's like that, but I think that you know shout out to anyone also who does this shit because it's crazy, man. Like you got to have something's got to be a little crazy about you to want to get in that cage. So yeah, that's it.